Good evening.
The broadcast is live.
Welcome to Rubber Duck Engineering. My name is Eric Seidel, and this is Adam Barth.
I'm Adam Barth. Hello.
We almost worked that out.
Oh, we practiced it. All right, we'll practice again.
That could be the B-roll. And yeah, it's another week. It's another hour of hacking on our crazy sound visualizer thing. Adam, do you want to bring the lovely people up to speed as to what we've been doing all these weeks?
Yes. So our first project for this podcast was to create a bunch of sound visualizations. So we have so far succeeded in reading in a sound file. We've succeeded in rendering the basic sound waveform for a stereo wave file, so both left and right channel. We've then converted that signal to the frequency domain, where we lost ourselves in the forest of Fourier transforms a little bit. But we think we found something that looks like what it should look like, and it kind of looks like a graphic equalizer. And I think our goal for this episode is to get a visualization API in place so we can then plug in different visualizers. And actually, I'm sort of hoping that someone out there in the audience will be interested in contributing a visualizer by the end of the episode by sending us a pull request. And then we'll look next episode, and hopefully one of you lovely people will have sent us a beautiful visualization that we can try out.
Yeah. So if you're just tuning in, that was sort of a lot to follow, but we'll show you what we've actually built so far. You can look at our Twitter. We've talked about, speaking of Twitter, we changed our handles so you could find out how to reach us in Twitter instead of our random usernames that we had on our laptops.
Which are mysteriously very similar to our Twitter handles.
Very similar. I wasn't quite fast enough to get without the underscore, or I joined Twitter forever ago, but I wasn't using it. Or I use it under a different name. Anyways, so you talked about pull requests and how we might solicit pull requests. I thought it would be interesting, since when we started this whole thing, we thought it might be interesting to new software, people coming into software, to sort of see how those of us who have been doing this for a very long time do actual software development. And it's hard to do in 1 hour increments and all, but one of the important things is code review. And we do a lot of code review in our jobs. And so I sent you a pull request this week, Dr. Barth.
I noticed that. I might have mysteriously pulled it up on my screen so that we could look at it together.
I'm glad you came prepared. So I'm going to add your screen.
Oh my gosh, we're screen showing my screen this week. This is a new development.
More technology.
All right, so I haven't looked at the pull request ahead of time because this is I find the code review process super important for software development. To me, it's the way that we as a project talk about the code. Like it's sort of down in the details, looking at line by line, seeing what's going on. Before
you go in, maybe we should show our viewers, if they're new, what it is we're actually working on. So let me flip quick to the actual thing. So this is the...
Wait, Eric, I'm going to interrupt you. Nash said hello. Hello, Nash.
Oh, hello, Nash. We have a viewer.
Welcome.
Welcome to the party. So this is our little app that we've been working on. You see here, this is actually from the future. This is with my pull request to require but you see a guitar playing here, and you see this is the time domain. So these are amplitudes.
Oh, we have two viewers.
We have two viewers? How is that even possible?
Welcome.
Welcome TDODT underscore. And then we also added last week the ability to flip into the frequency domain. So this is just a mostly empty guitar, or it's a quiet guitar. And then we also had, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm showing you the other side of my pull request.
What? I want this feature. This is like an amazing feature.
Well, this is why this feature is in your inbox. So shall we get to the...
Yeah, let's do the code review. Let's do
the pull request part of the evening.
All right, so I'm going to go here to pull requests. I'm going to click on this. All right. Make it possible to toggle files without restarting. Want to buy. Yeah, so
it hurt my soul a little bit that we were in our main function before we even called into Flutter. We were just like randomly reading this file and shoving it in a global variable.
Yeah, so especially in open source projects, like if you send pull requests, it's super important to grab the maintainer's attention and like explain to them why they want your pull request. So I see in big bold type a thing that I want. So now I'm very interested in looking at the rest of this. All right, move a wave file into my homepage state and added a drop-down menu in the app bar as a hacky way to toggle between the current two sound files.
Can you embiggen your font just a wee bit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Also, viewers, if you're curious where he is, this is the GitHub repository. You can see this live. You can see us even merge it here in a moment, assuming it's good enough.
I did not add tests in this pull request, but maybe we should do it on the show. I'm foreseeing a code review coming in your future.
We hadn't done any widget level testing yet, so I wasn't quite brave enough in the 10 minutes that it took me to write this pull request to add tests. I was saying to you in the pre-show that it's remarkable how quickly you can pound out code when A, you're working on a pretty simple project like we are, and B, you're not A, tired out of my mind like I was last week, or B, trying to figure out YouTube and all that stuff at the same time.
So we got a question. What software are you using to broadcast screen share? So this is, I think it's called StreamYard. It's a web-based broadcast studio. Seems to work pretty well.
And it actually makes work that you may not know this, but we have 2 viewers right now, one of them on YouTube and one of them on Twitch. And we see comments from both, which is really kind of cool for those of us who don't want to set up both at the same time.
All right, so let's take a look at this code review. So you're deleting a bunch of code that I think is bad and should be deleted. This is good. Yeah, I think usually in Flutter, you want your main function to just basically be run app. So that's good. You're changing the title from being Flutter demo to actually a thing. I think that's good. Sound source. Okay. So the first thing I'm looking at when I'm looking at this, it's interesting to me that one of these names is public and one of the names is private. So usually when doing a code review, I won't comment on that right away. I'll just sort of make a mental note of that. It's like, that's an interesting choice. I want to try to figure out what the author was thinking when they made that choice by reading the rest of the pull request. Sound source.
So I'm curious, Adam, do you want me to comment? So both kinds of pull requests or co-review are common. Like you can be sitting next to each other, you can be on like video calls with each other and do sort of like interactive pull requests. But also sometimes it's good for your pull requests to just stand alone and like be readable and understandable. Which kind of review do you want to do right now, Adam?
Why don't I go through it once by myself, and then we can go through and talk through it in a second pass. Does that sound good?
Okay.
Let's see. Sound source files. All right. Init state. So initializing the state. That makes sense. Set the source. So I'm interested in why there's no set state here. I want to come back to that. Okay, title is now a drop-down box. Oh, I see. You're calling the set state around that. Okay, that to me, so that makes sense as a contract. Now that I understand, or at least I think I understand why Eric has made this choice, I'm going to leave a comment here that says, whoa. I want to document the color is affected this function called set state.
I think that's an excellent point, that really there should be some documentation here.
Add a single line. The GitHub code review tool has gotten fancier since the last time I used it.
GitHub is kind of all sing, all dance at this point. It really is. It's come a long way in whatever it's been. 6 years as Flutter's been on it.
Great. This is a beautiful pull request. So it's pretty focused. Like it's doing a specific thing. There is a little bit of sort of unrelated cleanup. And I think if we were being super rigorous about how we're doing this engineering, we might pull like this change into a separate one. But I think in the context of this kind of project, this kind of easily understood, like localized change is totally legit to put in. I didn't find out why one of these was public and one of them was private.
So we also have a question from the viewer, or from a viewer. Nash says, I noticed that you're calling super init state at the end of the function. Shouldn't be this at the top, or does it not matter?
That's a good question. I don't know why it would matter. But,
I think it probably shouldn't matter. I think it's true that you often want to call super first, certainly like for constructors and such.
Yeah.
I think that I put it that way because that's when I started typing init state and Visual Studio Code auto-completed for me. And it put a comment as like, your code goes here. And I think I put my code there. But maybe I'm incorrectly blaming Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, but I think generally you want to initialize from the base class down, and then you want to destruct in the opposite order. So I think that's a really good comment, Nash. So here, whenever I leave code review comments, I always try to be very careful about how I'm phrasing something. So I want to be careful whether I'm like, this is a requirement, like you must do this in order to land this pull request, or whether it's just something I think you should consider, and then you as the author of the pull request can make a judgment about whether you think that's a good idea or not. And then I have even a third level where I would prefix something with I'd say nit, meaning I don't really think this is a big deal. This is just something that occurred to me when reading this, and like if you don't agree with me, just totally ignore me.
Yeah, I want to like triple down on that statement there. Having worked in open source for, I don't know, a very long time, multiple decades now, text is a terrible communication medium. And it is so often that you're misunderstood, and when you're working across time zones and across language barriers and stuff, and you just really don't want to come off not nice. And that's, I think, too easy to do.
Yeah, and like part of the purpose of code review is to build community, right? Especially in an open source project, when someone who's sending you a pull request, you may never have met them face to face, and you may never meet them face to face, and still you want to, like, this is the project we're working on together, and so part of that is just, being totally polite. And I mean, in this scenario, that like Eric and I have very equal footing in this project, and also we have a lot of rapport and experience with each other, so it's less of a big deal. But in an open source project, like if you're the maintainer and you're getting a pull request from somebody else, there's a big power imbalance there, and you have to be very like aware of that and make sure that the person on the other side feels like they're getting a good experience, and they might want to contribute again to your project.
Yeah, I just also feel super grateful. Like if you're contributing to my random project, like you took time out of your day to send this to me. Least I can do is be nice to you. So this is a totally valid comment. I'm going to now break the fourth wall or whatever here. And I probably should have addressed in the summary at the top. So part of what happened here was that I realized that we are dealing with these like absolute file paths, which is really nasty. And whatever this sound source thing is, it probably shouldn't expose the idea that you have some absolute file path. And so I was trying to hide that. Because maybe this is a URL, or maybe this is an asset name, or...
Yeah, and that's totally a kind of thing that, like if you replied to me on the code review and told me that, that's not a thing that would necessarily end up in the code, either as code or comment, but would just sort of end up in our joint understanding of where the code is today and where the code might be going in the future. Like it's sort of communicating the idea that maybe we want to get away from these absolute paths.
Yeah, we definitely want to get away from the absolute paths so that you can run it on your machine too. Because right now the absolute paths...
It does say eSidel in it, which is funny. Okay, so how do I actually finish this? Approve.
Were there changes that you needed, or are we going to do those after the fact?
I just wanted this documentation change. Like we can talk about adding tests, but I think that we're going to handle that as a separate topic.
I think so. In a real environment, he would request changes, and then like it would take another day or whatever for me to get back to him. But for the show, I think we just keep moving forward. Thanks. And I think you should have a merge button.
All right. Merge pull requests.
And then
squash and merge. Repaste.
That sounds good to me.
Squash and merge.
I actually had to fix my GitHub setup to use my own personal fork of the project and stuff. I thought about setting up Travis for the project, but I didn't quite get there.
Boom, it's done.
Okay, so if we switch back to my screen, so you'll see I'm on my little branch. Whoops, what happened? I'm on my little branch. But if I switch back to master, get checkout master, my sticky keyboard, pull rebase. This won't actually work, I don't think. Did it? Oh, no, it did. Okay, good. I was wondering if I needed to pull from upstream because I changed. So shall we get to the meat of this episode then?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I think you were talking about we wanted to add an API so we could add more visualizations. Or did we have bugs that we needed to fix before we got to that?
I think we could just start with that.
Okay. So we have these. Go ahead.
I was going to say we have both the time visualization and the frequency visualization. And so it feels like a starting point. Like having two things or even three things is a good starting point for building an abstraction. Having one thing, it's really hard to build an abstraction around.
Yep. We have our time painter. Oh, you can't see this, can you? This is really tiny. Oh, hello. Sorry, there was a little lag. Is that better?
Looks great.
Okay. Okay. So I think our API has mostly been this visualizer model. What more did you have in mind?
So I think we want to think about what we want to hand to the visualizer and what we want the visualizer to hand back to us.
Okay.
Given this is Flutter and everything is a widget, I kind of think the visualizer should give us back a widget.
Mm-hmm. So okay, so we have like a abstract class visualizer, and we want to have a visual. You wanted to hand back a widget.
Yeah. Okay. So now I remember a little bit of the complexity of this. So right now we have the idea that here's a single model. So in our world, the model contains both the time samples and also the frequencies.
I think that's. Go ahead.
I was going to say we talked about doing visualizations where the visualizer has history or hysteresis. So you can imagine if you've seen an equalizer where it keeps the max on each range. So as it bumps around, there's a bar that stays at the max for a while and then falls down. That means it needs some sort of history.
Okay.
So I was thinking somehow you want to the visualizer being sort of a long-lived thing that keeps state or keeps information, and then you feed it models, and then it gives you back a widget somehow.
We also could make it so that the visualizer just has the ability to request these things. So when I was very briefly, and I didn't actually write this patch, looking at moving visualizer model, which we talked about this off screen at the end after last week, was that we realized that visualizer model deals in samples, which doesn't make any sense when you move between different sample rates. And so really visualizer model should deal in time. And you should say, I want this time range. And if we move to I want this time range kind of model, then maybe just hand it the model or whatever you call it, but some visualizer object or some object to the visualizer that it can ask, hey, I want information in this time range, including this is what the current time range is.
Yeah, so I think that's sort of pushing us towards that's sort of steering us towards a pull model as opposed to a push model.
I see, and you'd prefer to be in a push model.
No, I think a pull model might make a lot of sense.
Okay.
So I think it might make sense, for example, to have what do we call the model? Visualiser model provider. That then you when you construct the visualizer, you say, okay, here's your model provider, and then you say, okay, here's your time. Here's what time the scrubber is at. You give me a widget, and then it can go talk to its provider to go get whatever data it wants from anywhere in the file in order to draw the picture for that time index.
Makes sense.
Should we try that and see if we're able to refactor our...
Well, before we refactor, I want to have just slightly better, I'm sort of taking notes here, slightly better idea of what we're going for. So we then have a visualizer model, which takes in some sort of time range.
Mm-hmm.
And then is this a static object or it's a final object?
Well, I was kind of imagining this as a provider. And so maybe I'll try to sketch this out here.
Yeah,
So,
please.
like the provider, it gives you back a visualizer model.
Mm-hmm. I think we also need to change the model, is what I was getting at.
Oh, okay.
I think we also need to adjust the model at least just a little bit, because again, right now, if you look at it,
Yep.
it like tells you its sample count and its channel count, and like this shouldn't exist, this sample count, or maybe it should, but these also need to become they need to be separated from each other, as we talked about last time. Like using the same number of point count for the frequencies made no sense. Both of these end up being bucketed, right? So you may end up with way more samples than you display.
Right. So what if this was what if we just like put that on the shelf for a second and just try to draw what we want here, right? So maybe this is like get time samples or get samples, like duration start, duration end.
Okay.
And this is like get frequencies, duration start, duration end. Like there's no particular reason you have to get the time and the frequencies. Like you mentioned, this visualizer that only ever cares about time will never bother to do the math for the Fourier transform, or a thing that only cares about frequencies might not ever care about samples.
Okay, so this is in some sense replacing the visualizer model itself, because they were currently being tied to the range, but they don't need to be.
Yeah, I think that's sort of overly constraining for where we were.
Okay. The frequencies ends up caching a bunch of stuff, if I recall correctly. Oh, whatever. Anyways, okay, so this seems like a fine starting API.
Right. So then the visualizer, I think, base class should hold this provider for you. And then think about a widget.
I think they call these build functions, don't they? I mean.
Okay, yeah, sure. Build. And then
you
I
get
guess
the
you
context and stuff.
Sure, put context. And then you need something else here, right? Like you're getting are you just getting the actual double value? Like the
the current time?
Maybe you get like a start end. Like we want you to there's a certain amount of time on screen now, and we want to show it to you.
Why does this build a widget and maybe it is a widget? But anyways, let's keep going and understanding our ins and outs here. This is the visible range or whatever. But does that even make sense? I think you need just a current time.
Okay. So this is like the current time.
I mean, because I don't think the user gets to express what visible range to show, like what the sort of zoom is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe a more fluttery way of doing this is to pass an animation here. So, because potentially the visualizer could be smart and not have to rebuild when the duration animation ticks.
I see. It already has its data. It's calculated out whatever its data needs to be, and then it.
Yeah, this is just strictly more flexible. Like if you wanted the current duration, you could just grab it off the animation. Okay. And then this animation will also give you information about like the beginning and ending values, I believe.
Okay. So now back to my earlier question. Why should this be a widget itself? Should this thing just be a widget that... Well, I don't know how you deal with the animation then. How do you pass in the animation? Like build doesn't normally take extra parameters, I guess is what I'm saying. Or you normally just have the build context.
Yeah, so I would look for an example in the Flutter framework to see what might be idiomatic. And so I would look at the list, the sort of list constellation of classes, because they often have build methods that say, build item 7 of the list.
Ah. Yeah, these sort of builder classes. Let's see. Can the folks at home see this? Is this embiggened sufficiently?
We can see the pictures. Reading the text is going to be challenging.
I have to figure out what is the keyboard shortcuts.
Oh, so what is an indexed widget builder? That kind of feels like what we're trying to do here. So yeah, this takes a build context. Oh, so it's just a function.
Yeah, it's a callback. This is just
Okay.
the type def for whatever is presumably passed to the list view builder class.
Okay, so if we go back to the code, I think we want to define a visualizer builder as a similar kind of thing of just a closure.
So
And
visualizer, I see.
I forgot how to declare that in Dart.
It's like a type def.
You want to type that in?
Yeah, oh well, it's your memory or mine. Type def, visualizer, builder. How do you return? This is, I'm sure people watching this are like screaming, pulling their hair out. Void. I'm going to type the C syntax and see if it works.
I'm going to try to jump the definition trick. What is it?
I added the semicolon so you have some idea. Type. It's not tip def, Eric. Okay, except you're going to want a visualizer builder that takes this, the context and the animation duration.
Mm-hmm.
Can you move your cursor?
I have moved it, but the inner tubes are...
No, the inner tubes. I don't even remember the rest of the quote. It was something about they're all clogged up with...
Something about a dump truck. Nash is recommending that we look at list view builder.
Oh, good. Someone who's actually written Flutter in the last few years. List view builder.
That's actually what you're looking at. So this is great.
We're there. We felt the vibes through the non-dump truck inner tubes. Oh, there we go.
Oh, Nash has hopefully given us the actual syntax.
See, we should just have this gentleman or gentle person. Okay. Okay, I think we got it, right? It compiled. No analyzers are screaming. Oh, the analyzers may be screaming.
I think Nash had an equal sign in his...
What? It's probably cheating. I see. Type def name. Oh yeah.
function.
So some of our distress here is that Adam and I wrote C++ for a very long time, and then type defs were they were less fancy than they even are now in Dart when we started in Dart 1 point whatever it was. They've gotten fancier, and I think there are plans to make them fancier still. At least there are bugs on the topic. I am not convinced that our type def is correctly type defed.
Okay, we totally got this. I copy and pasted this from the docs, and I'm just going to make it into what we want.
Oh, you did it!
I did it. The old copy and paste from the docs trick.
I mean, that is how we write all the programs.
So then the visualizer, we want to say, basically, get builder.
Okay, well, I'm going to name this thing abstract. So the analyzer stops whining at us or saying nice things at us about how we're doing things wrong. Function body must be provided. Oh, hey, look at us. All the things pass.
Right, so I think this class is actually, we should just pull the same functional trick again. And say a visualizer is a function that takes in a visualizer data provider and gives us back a visualizer builder.
So, okay, so I'm just trying to imagine, like, when we instantiate one of these things. Like, So you had mused about the topic of, hey, if we have an API, people could send us, their visualizers, or at least you and I can send each other our visualizers next week.
Mm-hmm.
How do we call one of these? How do we look them up? I guess we just link them all in.
Well, I think these 3 definitions here are a sufficient API. I think we should try to refactor probably both of our existing visualizers into this form.
Okay.
We start with one of them, just to sort of prove to ourselves that this is actually a workable API contract.
Exactly. Get frequencies, get samples. Yeah, great. We'll use wishful model. Yep, I think we can delete all this. Well, so I actually don't know that you want this to be just a function, right? Because it can't keep state. Or I guess, hold on, visualizer builder returns a visualizer. And what is a visualizer? Oh, the type test, the visualizer is this. I think you want to be able to be because like your visualizer itself is, as you said, it might want to keep history, or might want to keep some sort of cache or something like that.
Yeah, so I think you're getting at this sort of tension between like function-oriented programming and class-oriented programming. And Dart is set up to basically handle both. And so what we've written here is a pretty functional definition, but we can also write a sort of class definition.
Well, even if we did class definition, the visualizer would need us to pass in a separate visualizer state opaque class or something for it to hang all its state off of, right? Or were you expecting it to just have global variables in its own little file?
I was expecting it to basically to keep that state in a closure. But we can switch it to class-based if I think either would work if that's more comfortable. So class visualizer would then something that you would then get a visualizer from. What you were imagining more?
Widget, build context, and animation during current.
Well, I think the super is to put this up here.
Yeah, as passed into the constructor.
Yeah, so the functional people will tell you that we're making a lot of structural commitments to what the people implementing this interface contract are doing. Like we're making more and more choices for them. But I think in this scenario, those are okay choices to make because I think they're pretty, I think most visualizers are going to want to make those things.
Do you write in a functional style in your day job these days? Have you gone to the functional side?
But my very first computer science class in college was taught in Scheme, which is like one of these like mega curly brace, like pure functional things. And so
it is burned into your brain.
I was brainwashed at an early age. Yes. but I think these concepts are really good to know and be conversant in, even if you use them, don't use them that often or only use them for certain things.
Git builder.
Should we just try it?
Yeah, let's just try it. I don't need to like.
Who did the frequency visualizer?
This on air.
Send visualizer. Okay.
Do you mean this to be frequency? I see.
Yeah, you should just fix it to be actually correct.
E or a? Oh man, you're gonna make me spell things on air. Frequency, yeah, okay. Frequency. Pleasure. Well, I learned to spell. You're typing away. I tell you, I know our viewers maybe very well all over the world, but it has been an even more crazy than normal week in California, where we had to lock up all of our dwellings to keep the smoke out. And it's really hot right now because we're not allowed to have any, we're trying to be conserving electricity so that they don't shut it off for us. Anyways, it's a festive time. Okay, why is it grumping at us? SuperClass Visualizer does not have a zero argument constructor.
How do I say super? Oh, how do I, what's Dart for call my SuperClass constructor?
Super should work, but that should also work, I think. We must have spelled it wrong.
Oh, it seemed happy with that.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know whether this will work, but we can try it.
So you want to just slot this in for our...
At some point last episode, we wrote a switch statement.
Well, hold on. How do we get this build called?
Right, so we're going to have to call that build. So we have to sort of work this in.
This feels like sort of like the state class. And this is like, I think in the Flutter way, you generally instantiate, like through the constructor of a widget, you would pass this. But that's assuming that the widget itself is short-lived. Am I making any sense? Whatever, we just need to get to the trying it, and this will all clear up.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So like if I were to sort of, so we can go even more classy. And basically skip this functional
Where's
section.
my top hat?
So if you want to go like completely classy, you could do it this way.
Visualizer build. I'm sorry, what am I looking at?
I just got rid of the functional indirection. So I declared on the abstract class that the subclasses are supposed to implement this build function that takes the build context and gives you a widget.
Oh, I see. I guess I see. So this isn't a widget, or rather it provides a widget. I'm thinking about how we call this. I think this will become clear when we try to call it, classy or not. So, right, so say we want this frequency visualizer.
Mm-hmm.
So we go down to where it goes. I don't think where that even is. Right here, right? It's visualizer type, value, in the wave player, in the wave player state.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it that we do this? Visualizer type in the sample plot. I see the sampleness bled even into this, right? As we try to think about time duration or time. There must be like a quick way to jump around in this thing.
Yeah, so right here when it says build visualizer, it feels like that's where we're...
Yeah, this is what we want to be slotting in right here.
Yeah, so you see here where it says read the samples, like that we should factor into a provider.
Well, yeah, that goes into this new model, this new provider.
Yeah, so maybe, right, and so then here when you have the expanded child, here's where we want to call our visualizer.
We have to like look up the visualizer, right? Yeah, visualizer build.
Just like hold it as a, so we're an animated widget. Yeah.
Well, somebody's passing into us what the visualizer is, which is what this whole...
Yeah, somebody gave us the visualizer.
Somebody gave us the visualizer, exactly.
Right, so instead of having a visualizer type, I think we should just have a visualizer.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's right.
Our job, so that we don't need this.
Well, we're going to need something like it earlier, right? Because when we start this out, there's going to be the 3 built-in visualizers, and we're going to have a pop down or whatever for them. Right now we have a toggle.
Yeah, I might have deleted it slightly eagerly.
Well, thankfully, we have Git history. Or we could type out the 5 lines of code again.
Right. So then this code here, or this code, I think goes into the provider.
Correct. Yes, definitely.
So let me try to move that. I'm just going to put it all the way up in the. I'm going to make provider not abstract.
Mm-hmm. I think provider is not abstract. That's the thing we control. That's our part of the contract, right?
Mm-hmm. So maybe this goes in get samples.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
So we're going to need a read samples at.
I actually don't think we need to implement this yet. Like, I think we should get the like structure sorted out, and then we can go through and actually make this work. That may be going against the grain of how you.
Okay, that's legit. So I'll just comment this out for now. Do you want to go back to driving?
Oh no, you were doing just fine. Okay, so let's go back to our errors. Visualizer type. So this we can all remove because this is now the visualizer. And somebody
needs right. So this is the stateful widget. This thing I feel like should own the visualizer and hold the state about what visualizer we're working with.
That's fine. I don't know whether it's public or private, but oh, it's actually up here. What is this? Why is it here? Oh, because it's been passed into us. Who passes it? Oh, because we made it be on the top level state, I believe, the my homepage state.
Okay, that's fine. We can keep that structure.
Yeah, right here. So this becomes the visualizer.
Yep.
It's fine, like some top level thing. And what is the one that we're working from? Frequency. Later, or we can make this null. Start with. Whoa, what happened? Many of the backups, okay. And then we can do a similar sort of set visualizer. Except this needs to be a. I don't know if this is correct. How you feeling?
I think that's good. And then we can have like a next and previous button instead of a toggle or something. It'll be really easy for people to just add more visualizers to the list.
We still have the problem of compiling them in, but we'll get to that. Right, you still have to like commit them to the repository somewhere. But we'll get to that. And presumably we have another thing like this. The reason why I moved the set state out of set source was that are you allowed to call set state from within a init state? I couldn't remember that.
I think we allow it. It just doesn't do anything.
I love it how like we each ask each other Flutter questions, even though neither of us have hacked on the framework in several years. So our answers are probably wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't take any of that to the bank. I would go read the code.
I mean, it is in like the water that I drink and the air that I breathe, but it's still not. Did we decide it's with a Z or an S? It's with a Z.
It probably depends on whether you're in the UK or not.
Exactly. Well, our RTL speaks British English, as does our lead product manager and our lead technical architect both speak British English. So it rubs off on me sometimes.
So we have a little bit of a difficulty here on line 343, which is when we construct a visualizer, we're supposed to give it the provider. We can change
So
that contract.
maybe these should be constructors. Like maybe this should be like a visualizer factory kind of thing, but then you still have to pick one.
Well, I just wonder when you say set visualizer here, you could do something like set provider widgets or whatever.
Well, does the provider outlive the visualizer, or do you make a new, like you need to make a new provider every time you change the WAV file, which is why this is definitely the right function or the right class for this to be being done in.
Yeah, something like that.
Because this thing is the provider?
Why not, right? Influence.
Okay. We need to, not in this CL, but we need to rename it from my homepage state. We've outgrown our roots here a little bit. We're becoming a real program. Okay. Okay, that's fine. This can be the Visualiser Provider. And so we're saying it outlives this thing, and we're clearing the previous one if it exists. That's what this little question mark does. If this thing is not null, do this. So basically I still think we maybe need to start let you do this, or if they're just classes and then you call them. I can't remember. Can you call a constructor?
I see what you're saying.
I feel like I tried to do this in a different Dart program I wrote, and the language didn't like me. But I don't remember.
I mean, we could always just make it into a function, right? It doesn't let you do it.
I see.
Oh, it may just be the type here. We may just have the wrong type. Like
this would be like a, what type is it? Is that a constructor type?
It should be a type from like that.
Blowing my mind. I don't.
Also known as Visualiser Factory.
Yeah, so I think you end up with functions here. Yeah, which is fine. We just wrap these in functions. So then we put a comma here so that it spreads out, because we're gonna have a zillion of these. We're gonna end up needing to split beyond one file too. And then this ends up being, this takes up, oh, it doesn't take anything. Because we no longer, the provider we have to set separately, we decided, right?
Well, I changed it since we're doing constructors. Now we can provide the provider and the constructor here on line 351.
Oh, okay.
I think with the fancy Dart constructor tear-offs, it should just work. But
okay, so you're saying that I can just do frequency visualizer, not provider. Somehow bothers me. All these generic. I think this came from my first job. My manager, who was way into C++, always tried to. Maybe this was you. Somebody tried to push out of me the whole meaningless nouns in class names, like provider or manager or.
Oh, all the design pattern, all the design pattern words.
Okay, I think we should fix the analyzer warnings, and then we will start to see the error of our ways.
Okay.
Okay, this we decided. This is the sample plot.
Yeah, we decided instead of visualizer types, we're going to pass around actual visualizers.
Yep. I think where we had gotten stuck was whose job it was, but we ended up pushing it up the stack, and that we decided looked correct. Expected to find semicolon. Okay. concrete implementation, yeah, that's fine. Element type.
So I guess the beautiful syntax is it doesn't quite work.
That's fine. This is easy to work around.
I can type it in, I think.
Oh, you're doing it. I sure. You type plenty fast. Doing it right? Am I holding it? Me. What's 0 found? Undefined type, visualizer type. Okay, so this will get to, I think we should just remove this for now because it's not going to work this way afterwards.
Yep.
We're going to need to like figure out the configuration.
Oh, I think you want to remove one more line. I think you have a stray square bracket there.
I think the analyzer agrees with you. Visualizer type is not defined. Oh, the joys of refactoring. Refactoring, I feel like it's one of those things where you just need to go into the tank for like an hour and like page it all into your brain, type it all out right, and then come out the other side. Yeah, that's fine. It can be unused. Okay.
So I think the next thing we have to do is we have to implement those functions.
Well, let's see. Oh, for it to compile. I was going to see if we could run it.
Yeah, I think to make it.
Well, I don't think we called them yet. So
yeah, we could just put in stubs to make the analyzer happy, or maybe it'll just run even with the analyzer being unhappy.
I think it might just run. Maybe it should just show some text, right?
Yeah, it's a very simple visualization. Just says
okay. Oh, I see. So these are like override, right? Let's just go copy them.
Yeah.
You know what I didn't do? I was wondering why I was feeling so sleepy. No, I had not turned off the thing that makes me try to go to bed. Okay, so if we do this, and we just make this null, soon Dart will let us do this. All right. Okay. Yeah, did I make any typos?
Looks good to me. What does the analyzer think?
I think the analyzer is still stuck in a couple minutes ago. It's analyzing. We need one of those YouTube effects where it like zooms in.
Zoom and enhance. Zoom and analyze.
Okay, so now if we hot reload or hot restart, it should say we called it on null. Because we never created the visualizer? What is it?
I think actually where we went to finally go call it, we didn't actually wire it up. I think we passed it all the way there and never actually used the one we passed in.
Oh. Do we wire it all the way up?
Sample plot, that looks good.
This one is supposedly null. Now, this could be, well, I did a hot restart. Okay, so who's calling sample plot? Widget visualizer. It must be the one where we like called dot first, right? This thing. Oh. What is this? Oh, I see.
So did we ever get the debugger working, or are we sort of in printf debugging?
Oh no, we can totally debug.
So I would just put a.
Well, but this is init state, which hasn't. Oh, but I did a hot restart. You were saying? There it goes. I just hadn't done a hot restart. I did a hot reload. When you do a hot restart, it will refresh the state of your program, whereas a hot reload won't.
Right, because we're changing the state initialization.
Yeah. Okay, so we have our framework sort of a little bit working.
Mm-hmm. And
now our goal was to try and move the frequency visualizer into this new mode. We're going to end up going a little long today, I think, in order to make this happen.
Yeah, I think we're going to get, we're going to end up with a bunch of durations and a wave file, and then have to square that circle.
Yeah, I think that's okay. We took the wave file model a little bit in this direction 2 episodes ago. I think we just need to take it kind of the rest of the way, which is fine. So,
yes. So I think there are 2 pieces to this now, right? One is implementing these 2 overrides, and the second is changing the frequency visualizer to actually use our frequency painter and all those fun classes we wrote in previous episodes.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing to get done in our remaining minutes is get the frequency one up and painting in the new system. And then if we haven't done all the overrides for the samples one or the time-based one, we can do that off camera. But folks can still take this API, or again, you or I could take this API and write another visualizer off camera for another pull request next time.
That sounds like an excellent plan.
All right, so let's see if we can get enough of the frequencies part working. We may end up needing to get the samples part working too. And I wouldn't start here. I would start by moving the code into the new frequency visualizer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be this stuff. I actually don't think we need to move the custom painter per se. We are going to need to change it because its visualizer model is going to be different.
Right. I think it's just going to take frequencies instead of a visualizer model.
Sure. But so this thing should want to return a, what is the frequency? Like, when did we even call this? No, we removed the caller of it. It wants to return a custom paint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to want to call into its provider to get the frequencies and then pass them to the custom paint.
I don't know what the, that's clearly not right, but I don't remember what the.
So I think the argument is called painters. I'll type that in.
Please.
And then here we're going to want to pass in frequencies,
which we're going to need to want to get from
the provider somehow.
Is that what we call it? We call it frequencies. It's equal to data provider dot get frequencies. But then which ones do we want?
I think we want current dot value and then current dot value plus 20 milliseconds.
So now is equal to current dot value. So now and now plus
something like that.
Save us, analyzer. I think part of the difficulty is that this poor little old MacBook has trouble doing the streaming and the Mac, just all of the things. I may need to move to a more powerful machine. Okay, 2 positional arguments expected. Is that for custom paint? Come on. Okay, frequency cannot be assigned to the visualizer model. That's true, because this thing now needs to take I see. And blah.
I think that's okay. I forget what frequencies that type is actually like, but that type may just have that information.
Oh, it says it.
Yeah, so it just has the channels. So the channel count is just channels dot length. You can add like a, yeah exactly.
Forgot the get keyword. Remember that? You ever seen the movie Toy Story?
Does the get keyword in Toy Story? This
No.
I want to hear.
In the movie Toy Story, there's this scene where the toy pig is flipping between channels.
Okay.
Because they're trying to find the commercial. They're trying to figure out where their like friend toy or whatever ended up. And it's like, it's Bob's Toy Barn or something like that. And he's a chicken. Anyways, whatever. He's flipping between channels. And he goes past. And they're like, whoa, whoa, go back. And he's like, sorry, I'm too far. I got to go around the other side. And so sometimes I feel that way. It's like, no, I have to finish the line and then I will go back and add the get keyword. It may have nothing to do with nothing, but that's what came through my addled brain. Okay, sample count. Does that make any sense? Why do we need sample count?
I think it should be frequency count instead of sample count.
Well, then we can just set it to something, right? What is this even used for? Oh, I see. But what is it a measure of?
I think it's just the number of frequencies in our.
But this is because we haven't bucketed them, right? So we need a layer of abstraction between the actual raw samples and what is displayed to either do expanding or contracting of the bucketing, right? So
I think it's something the visualizer should handle. Like if a visualizer wants to take the frequencies, the raw frequencies, and bucket them and make cool things with them, more power to them.
Sure. We still need to expose that on the
Yeah, so previously we had an assumption, which we probably should just continue, which is that all of the channels have the same number of observations.
Oh, I see. Do you mean this to be frequency and not frequency?
Do not assume that anything of that type makes any sense.
Okay. Not clear that this is making sense, but okay, so this is not model anymore. This is frequencies. Oh, come on, Analyzer, you can do it. Okay, I will remove dark math, I promise.
You're going to need it back pretty soon.
Okay, you're probably right. Okay.
So I think we now reduce the problem to implementing the get frequencies function.
Good. Not that one, though.
Oh, but right above there is the commented out code that used to solve this problem for us.
Oh, I see. Well, don't we? This shouldn't be abstract anymore. This is a mix-in.
I think we just implement it in the state class. I think it's fine for it to be abstract here, because
Okay.
like if we had many implementations, like maybe we want to share code with a mix-in or something. But at the moment, we only.
How would individuals go about? Maybe we're covering this a little but say they want to actually try and add one. Do we need to move this into a different file?
Well,
like as an example?
The data provider. Oh, we try to move the frequency visualizer into its own file, but the data provider is something that we implement that the plugin, that the visualizer itself doesn't implement.
So what they would do is they would take our frequency they would take our frequency provider as an example, and they would just copy it themselves, and then import that.
I actually wonder maybe that's what we should do to conclude the show, is to move it into a separate file so we can see that.
Okay. See it work. I still would like to see it run at the end of the day. I mean, I know we mostly like rewired the engine on the inside of this thing, and so
yeah, but that's how software development goes, right?
Yeah.
You make a toy thing that kind of goes, and you refactor it into be the right shape, and then you
there's a lot of refactoring.
Then it grows a jet engine, and then you're like, okay,
and you bolt a cow on the side because software. Okay, so should this be in like a separate folder?
Sure.
Like visualizers.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna do frequency.
Yeah. Now you're cooking with
fire. I'm glad you like the cooking. Okay. So welcome to our cooking class. Okay, so that. Do we have a little license blob?
Nope. You don't need one. Like, as long as there's a license file at the root of your repository, it'll count for all the ones. I mean, it's nicer if you do than people.
And that's not legal advice.
Oh, no. Absolutely not. Not a lawyer.
I am definitely not a lawyer. I dreamed of being a lawyer at one point. I dreamed of being a lot of different things.
It is one of the things I do at work, is I do the open source compliance checking.
Oh, really? But you're still not providing legal advice.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so what do we import here? Obviously Flutter.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Package. Flutter. Okay.
So we can move the API declarations into their own file. So we could import like.
I don't even know how to. Is it material? Oh, material is pretty, well, whatever. It probably doesn't actually need material. You were saying, sorry, the API, exactly. That's I think where my brain was going. It's like I'm trying to make this possible for someone following along at home to participate in, if they want to.
Yeah, so I might make like a common.dart in the Visualisers directory.
Or just API, or.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and this is then model. That's not it. That's the old API.
Right.
That we will eventually get to deleting.
So the data provider and the visualizer. I think those are the two main classes you need. Oh, and yeah, okay. There's going to be a few more.
This can get deleted. Okay.
Yep. So you're going to need samples and frequencies classes.
Oh yeah. I'm glad we're doing this refactoring here.
Well, I think it's making clear what the role is. Like we provide this, you provide that, then we wrap this thing and show it to the user. Like the layers.
Oh, really? So this frequency is going to have to move there. I think this is kind of interesting. Like API creation is always a whole nother art. But I think it's interesting that we're dabbling in it here.
Mm-hmm. So we need to get the FFT and the complex number imports in here because they're leaking through our API a little bit.
Yeah, there are things that we could clean up about that. Okay.
So you got frequencies, but I think you also need samples.
Yes. Samples. Yep. So in terms of being an API, this gets a little heavyweight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if we were going to really be serious about this project and have hundreds and hundreds of visualizers, we would probably think a little bit more carefully about it. But I think at the scale we're operating, this is should be okay.
Why is this upset?
You need the type data And you're also going to need the Flutter.
I was reading about Dart type data today to read about byte array, is it? No, byte. Because I was briefly looking to see if I could move us onto the Flutter asset system.
Oh, it's widget.
Oh, why do we need? Yeah, we just need widget. Because you wrote this code, right? It's split into the different layers, right? We only need the widgets, I think. There's some hotkey to sort these. And it has always bothered me. Whatever, that's a tomorrow problem. Okay. 21 undefined samples. Okay, so this guy now needs to import package. We can just do it relative. I don't know which is the proper style.
You probably also need to import frequency.dart as well.
Yes, you will. Well, really, the way that should be is there should end up being a visualisers.all that handles that for you.
All right, make it so. Yeah, visualizers.all is really where that list of all the visualizers should be declared.
Correct. Otherwise, you just have to get into craziness.
Yeah, I think when this is really sort of optimizing for people sending us visualizers, is saying like really clearly, put your file here, like add to this list, you're good to go.
I think that's exactly what we're doing. Right, so this is.
You just say that whole declaration.
Just have it be naked.
I mean, you can give it a fancy name, but. I find in big programs, these aggregation points, like what you're creating right here, they tend to just grow out of control. And so like trying to simplify them as much as possible at the beginning when they're small and manageable. I mean, this project is going to probably come to an end in a couple episodes, but in software that lives for a long time, the aggregation points like this.
Well, and again, I think that's part of, I mean, when you and I started this conversation, right, it was just parts that we could hang out, but then we talked about like who would want to watch this and stuff. And I think part of like the value that we potentially bring is just that we've done this. And so like the fact that our instincts are here, maybe that's valuable to someone. I don't know.
Yeah, when I read code like this, I sort of like imagine what it's going to be like after 100 people have banged on it for like, 100 days, and like where is it going to be sore and where is it going to hurt, and like it's going to hurt right here in this file.
And that I think is so much again of our sort of special sauce and or just scars, right? Is that we've worked on multiple 100-person projects, been successful in multiple 100-person projects, and I think a lot of projects just aren't 100 people. Okay, so Visualiser Factory. That was in.
Oh, that was in main.dart. That was just a type def to make the compiler happy.
You'd think there would be like a tool that would help you with this.
There probably is, honestly. Like this is the kind of thing that all these automated refactoring tools are super good at.
Yeah, I just want to like click on these 5 classes and be like, no, put that one, and this one in this box. So like
you can try it. Like click where it's under where the frequency visualizer thing, and see if there's like an add import button that will magically solve your
this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, import frequency.dart. Yeah. So
I love it.
Click on the light bulb.
Click on the light bulb, it just does all your work. You don't need us, you just need light bulbs. Okay, the return type is a visualizer. Isn't it visualizer as required? Didn't we solve that by importing frequency visualizer?
Oh, I think there are more analyzer errors in that file that we imported that we haven't dealt with yet.
Oh yes, classes can only extend other classes.
I think we need to import the API library into this file, which I bet is what that light bulb will do for you. Oh yes.
Oh, it fixed all the things. Just the one light bulb click.
Why even write code? Just click light bulbs.
Well, also, I seem to remember, doesn't Dart differentiate? Isn't importing Visualisers API.Dart different from package sound visualizers? Like, don't they does it normalize them?
I think it will normalize it, actually.
Okay, good.
Command dot is your friend, is what Nash says. Is that auto-click light bulbs?
I don't know, but I need to try it. So if I hit Command dot,
yeah, it's suggesting something that looks good. Maybe enter to accept it.
Oh, okay.
Great.
I'm living in the future.
Okay, so I now believe we've got it down to the point where if we implement the get frequencies function, everything will. Convert to package import. So I think that's telling us that it would prefer us to do it that way.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Nash. Somebody read the docs. Okay. Continuing to our great quest. Since we're now 15 minutes,
yeah,
15 minutes over.
We should try to keep the episodes to an hour, but I think we're one function away.
Yeah.
And we could save it until next time if we wanted to. But
well, I know we may have lost viewers long ago, but like I would like to personally get to closure.
Let's do it.
Just like get to a running picture.
I'm in.
Okay. So speaking of running pictures, I see we have to implement. That's what we need to do. We need to go to the frequencies. This is the thing we have to implement, right?
Yes. There's a cheap version of this that we could do if you just want to see the picture.
I think we should probably aim for cheap, given how far we are.
So I think if we just take that code there, that's copy. That's commented out. Yep. And if you put it in this function and then just tear the frequencies off of the model.
Yeah, right. It's not quite right, but
it's totally not quite right.
I mean, maybe the way to do it actually is to just so do this. Hold on, why won't it uncomment? There we go. Oops, I uncommented too much of the stuff. I don't know if you can read my brain and know where I'm going, but so I was just going to do like a git visualizer model and then tear them off for each, and then they're cheap and theoretically work.
Sure.
Whatever. This is I don't even need a share code. This is terrible hacky code. It should get us to show a picture which can let us all. And then we'll fix this off camera and make sure that it is working again by the time we try out more visualizers next week. Okay. I see. This is I was a little too happy with the command plus. I was drunk with power.
We'd like a counter. Like, how many times have we added and removed importing Dart math?
For the one function. Okay. Undefined name wave. This I think is called wave file in this class, whereas it was not in the other one.
And I think now you're going to want to change now to start.
And now is start. Oh, I see. So this would be a total hack. But yeah.
It's a total hack, but it's cool.
No, I think sometimes you just have to be pragmatic. You would never ship this.
Analyzing.
Okay. Little analyzer that could. Whoa! We're back to pictures.
Amazing.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we should run through just very concretely at the end of the episode. If you want to create a visualizer and show us your amazing visualizer, what do you do, Eric? How do you do it?
So you would, so I will commit a little while after this because I need to clean it up this a little bit. We'll commit and push. And then what you would do is you would just create a, let's go back and actually look at the code. You would create a file in parallel to frequency.dart. You would just copy frequency.dart. You would hack it up to your content, parts content, and then you would add it to all. So add your to this list.
And then send us a pull request, and we will do a code review of all of the exciting visualizers in our pull request queue at the beginning of the next episode.
And if nobody sends a pull request, we'll have pull requests from ourselves to review.
I'll send one, so we'll have at least one.
And this again is the I have to use my fancy banner technology.
I'm impressed by your banners, Eric. They're amazing.
And I was also supposed to show you this. Since there are people, it turns out, I'm told there are people who view this, and if we're crazy or our sound is off or you think we need, whatever, do send us your feedback on the Twitterverse because both Adam and I are there. So,
yeah. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.